Greetings, everyone, and welcome. I'm the Chancellor Soul Mike Boone. You tune in to another edition of Soul Facts, a show highlighting the history and music of legendary artists and preserving their legacy. In this edition features a beautiful lady whose talents as a singer and gifted abilities as a songwriter help musically bridge together two categories: novelty and R&B. Soul Facts Spotlight Artist, Miss Shirley Ellis. Born in the Bronx, New York on January 19th, 1929, or January 20th, 1927, or some sources indicate the year 1941. But let's stick with the birth date of January 19th, 1929. Shirley Marie O'Gara, her given name, background heritage was that of the West Indian Caribbean origin. Her genesis in the music business started as a songwriter, where she composed a few tunes during the early 50s for the R&B doo-wop vocal group The Chords, who gained fame in 1954 with their masterpiece recording of Shaboom, released on Cat, subsidiary of Atlantic Records. One was called Pretty Wild, flip side to their Could It Be, released in October of 1955.
Pretty, pretty wild young girl.
She's pretty wild young girl. She's pretty wild young girl.
Now calling themselves the Shabooms, named after their famous recording because of legal actions from another group from Washington, D.C., registered with the same name. Shirley's second composition with the Shabooms was Lulu, recorded on the Vic imprint in 1955. Vic was a product label of RCA Records. O'Gara later won an amateur singing contest at the Apollo Theater in New York while performing with her group, the Metronomes. She later married the lead vocalist, Alfonso Elliston, in 1949. Elliston managed other singers, including the kiddie doo-wop group, the Heartbreakers, featuring lead singer Paul Himmelstein. Shirley wrote an up-tempo tune for the group called 1-2 I Love You, issued in March of 1957.
1, 2, I love you, you know I do. I really do. 3, 4, don't close the door to your heart.
In 1959, Shirley Elliston met her husband Alfonso's songwriting cousin, Lincoln Chase. Chase was one of the most gifted, prolific songwriters of the 1950s, penning such hits as Such a Night, recorded by Clyde McPhatter and the Drifters in 1953.
It was a night, ooh, what a night it was, really was, such a night.
Salty Tears by Chuck the King of the Stroll Willis.
Well, I'm drowning in a pool of salty tears.
Jim Dandy by Laverne Baker.
Jim Dandy to the rescue, Jim Dandy to the rescue.
And so many others. Interested in Ellison's vocal talents and ability to write songs, Lincoln Chase not only became her manager, but the two formed a songwriting partnership as well. Shirley Ellis and Lincoln Chase were never married, only business associates in music. Ellison went solo and issued her first single in August of 1961, entitled Love Can Make You Know, on the New York-based London Records subsidiary label, Shell, that failed to gain any sales.
Love can make you know what they mean.
Now billed as Shirley Ellis, deleting the last three letters of her last married name, T-O-N, she inked a deal with Congress Records, a subsidiary label of the Cap imprint owned by Dave Cap in 1963. Around this time, Elliston and Chase struck a long-term publishing deal with Al Gallagher Music in New York City. Shirley recorded and issued her first top 10 hit in October of 1963, called The Nitty Gritty, with a live audience background or piped in.
But sooner or later, baby, here's a ditty. Say you're gonna have to get right down to the real nitty-gritty.
The catchphrase nitty gritty has been used in casual conversations, meaning getting to the bottom of the situation, or sex, or believe it or not, referring to the debris left in the bottom of a slave ship after a voyage. Legend has it. The Nitty Gritty zoomed to the number 4 position on Cashbox Top 50 and R&B Locations chart on January 18th, 1964. 4 years later, The Nitty Gritty became a popular Latin soul hit for Ricardo Rey in 1968.
Let's get right down to the real nitty-gritty. Now, 1, 2, nitty-gritty.
And a huge hit for Gladys Knight and the Pips during the late summer of 1969, charting number 2 R&B on August 30th of that year.
Get right down to the real nitty-gritty now. Let's get right on down to the nitty-gritty now. 1, 2.
Shirley's first LP entitled In Action was issued in 1964. A follow-up clone to the Nitty Gritty, That's What the Nitty Gritty Is,
That's what the nitty-gritty is. That's what the nitty-gritty is. Listen.
debut also in Cashbox on February 29th, charting number 22 in March, suddenly vanished after his 3-week run. Ellis's third and fourth Congress issues, Shy One,
Shy one, shy one.
back with Taking Care of Business, dented at number 43 R&B Cashbox on May 9th, 1964, and the Uncharted Drifters remake of Such a Night came to a screeching hit-making halt. Well, just for a moment.
The Name Game.
The Name Game, one of the most enduring novelty songs with its repetition of similar sounding words, or in this case, individual names, by following a few simple rules on how to chant it. Well, it's simply by making up verses of the person's name, in which can be quite a tongue twister for some. Now, here's an example. In the song, singer Shirley Ellis starts off with her first name, Shirley. Shirley, Shirley, Bo Burley, Banana, Fana, Fo Furley, Fee, Fi, Mo Merley. Shirley. Simple, huh? Just a little play on the name or any individual name that you want to try it with. Composed by Shirley Ellis and Lincoln Chase, Ellis said in an interview that the song was originally titled Banana Song, and on a children's game she used to play as a child. The Name Game charted number 4 R&B on February 13th, 1965.
The Name Game. Shirley, 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 Bo Burley, Banana, Fana, Fo Furley, Fee, Fi, Mo Merley. Shirley.
This song not only became Shirley Ellis' signature song, but would make her an international star. The legacy of the Name Game has lived up to his name, no pun intended, through a few movies, such as Flawless with Robert De Niro and The Money Pit, starring Tom Hanks. It was also used in the 1993 Little Caesars commercial, Classroom Puppet Band. TV personality and comedian Soupy Sales recorded an album in 1965 entitled Soupy Sales Says Do the Mouse, featuring 2 recordings of Shirley Ellis, The Nitty Gritty, and The Name Game.
Right down to the real nitty gritty. Let's right down to the real nitty gritty. Now what? The name game. Soupy, 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 mo poopy, banana, fana, fo foopy, fee, fi, mo moopy. Soupy.
In May 1962, There was a song released on the Mercury imprint entitled Little Sally Water, recorded by a singer named Shirley May, with a question mark at the end of her name. Well, I guess it was a gimmick used by the company to promote her. Now, her given name was Shirley Ellis, which led to think by some music historians that this is the Shirley Ellis of the Nitty Gritty name game fame. Not so. According to historian Gerald Hertzaf from the YouTube channel, this particular Shirley Ellis was born in 1934 and hailed from North Carolina. She appeared in several TV shows, movies, stage comedies, and upper-class nightclubs during the early 1960s. Little Sally Water was recorded in Nashville, Tennessee, backed by the Merry Melody Singers and conducted by Jerry Kennedy. Shirley reportedly had a very unhappy life and developed a mental illness over the years. Sadly, she committed suicide in 2003. Now with 2 international hits under her belt, Shirley Ellis had finally cut the mustard. The best for her was yet to come.